was little, Aerion used to come into my bedchamber at night, put his knife in between my legs. He had too many brothers, he'd say. Maybe one night he'd make me his sister, then he could marry me.
Egg is talking about how his brother used to hold a knife to him at night and threatened to make him a girl. Calmly, in an even voice, a 10-year-old boy describes it the way another kid would talk about a school lunch. It's normal to him, routine, no drama. And that's what scares me, you, the most.
Aerion can be quite the monster.
And he threw my cat in the well too. He says he didn't, but he did.
All right.
He thinks he's a dragon in human form. That's why he was so wroth at the puppet show.
Also calm, and also just a fact. Maekar Targaryen has 4 sons. One is a sadist who believes he is God, and who will later drink wildfire, convinced he will turn into a dragon. Another is a drunk who has prophetic dreams and drinks so he doesn't have to see them. The third will refuse the throne, travel to the edge of the world and hide in books. And the fourth will run away with a stranger who wears a rope for a belt.
Your belt's made of rope.
So long as it holds my scabbard, it serves.
4 children, not a single normal life among them. And one father who never hugged any of them, not once in the entire season. You know what we usually call families where every child runs away? In the show, well, obviously they call it the House of Dragon. In real life, there is a simpler name for it, Targaryen family. I finished watching A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and I realized it's not a story that vast and grandiose as the House of the Dragon or the Game of Thrones. It's not the story about tournaments or knighthood. It's a story about one family and about a boy who, at 10 years old, decides for the first time, will he stay part of this family or will he leave? And the consequences of that decision will shape Westeros for the next 100 years. But it all starts very simply with a father who couldn't cope. Maekar Targaryen is the 4th son of King Daerion II, not the heir, not the favorite, not the one people bet on. His whole life there's been his older brother Baelor right next to him. Smart, handsome, loved by the court, hand of the king. The one people look at and say, now that's the real deal. And next to him stands Maekar. A bit harsher, a bit tougher, a bit more difficult to be around. And we notice that in the series. And he's always slightly off to the side. Let me say it directly, the way I see it. Sometimes the hardest thing in a family is not having a bad brother, it's having a perfect one. Because next to a perfect brother, you always look worse, and you're envious of it. You always look worse not because you are worse, but because the comparison is unavoidable, and you lose it every day, year after year, decade after decade. When a person lives in someone else's shadow for too long, he stops believing that anyone will ever truly see him. And then he has children. And they don't see him either, because there is nothing to see. He's closed off. He's in armor, literally and figuratively.
He only meant for us to hide in that inn until the tourney was over.
You shaved your head.
It was Darren who shaved it.
Was it Darren that told me you were a stable boy?
I didn't...
What?
4 sons, 4 adaptations for the same wound. One becomes terrifying, another disappears in the bottle, the third retreats into science and books. Aemon is absent from the show. And that's telling. He chose to disappear from the family entirely. And the fourth, the youngest, decides to run.
Do.
Take me with you, sir. Please.
And what might your mother say to that?
I see families like this in my own practice. 4 children, all of them have mutated to survive. Not because the children are bad, because inside that family you cannot stay yourself. But between the 2 brothers, Maekar and Baelor, there is a story that explains everything else, and it ends with the swing of the mace. 14 fighters, 2 sides, 7 each, and among them 2 brothers. Maekar fights for Aerion, his sadist son. Baelor fights for Dunk, a wandering knife he's known for 2 days. Baelor stands up for Strange, while Maekar stands on the opposite side from his own brother.
I need to fight honorably. But sometimes I think I buried my courage alongside the old man.
Blow from a mace to the helmet, hard, too hard. At first, no one understands what happened. Tournament fights are always rough. But then Baelor asks them to remove his helmet, because his fingers feel like wood. They take it off, and you can see that half his skull is crushed. The helmet was holding his skull together. The helmet was all that remained.
No, Your Grace.
Baelor turns, not understanding where he is, and falls. The heir to the Iron Throne, the hope of the dynasty, dead. The show leaves this moment ambiguous, accident or not. I think there was rage. Not conscious, not planned, but in battle, well, when all defenses are down. His arm struck where it had wanted to strike his entire life. 40 years in the shadow, and one blow where everything came together. The cracked helmet of Baelor is a perfect metaphor. The helmet is a mask, a persona, a social role. While it's in place, everyone sees the great prince. When it cracks, you see fragility and mortality. Baelor held the dynasty together the way the helmet held the skull. Without him, the structure falls apart. Maekar killed the one he could never catch up to, and was left with 4 children he never learned to love, plus the guilt that would live inside him until his last day. You know what separates dysfunctional royal family from a regular dysfunctional family? The scale of consequences. In a regular family, pain stays within 4 walls. An aggressive teenager eventually hits a boundary. School, police, another adult who says, no, you cannot do that. At court, there are no boundaries. The court, royal court, is a system that takes family pathology and amplifies it.
My father told me you should never talk to a horse. He said they're dumber than dogs and only understand the crop. But I don't think that's true. I think a horse doesn't want to be ordered about any more than a man does.
Here is what little Aerion specifically sees. His father is not the important one. His father is the one they tolerate. A child at court picks this up instantly, not through words, obviously, but through who gets the deeper bow, who gets listened to more carefully, whose table people sit at. And he decides, if the quiet way doesn't work, I'll be the one they fear. Because being feared is at least some form of significance. Then the court adds 3 things that don't exist in a regular family. First, impunity. Aerion deliberately drives a lance through his opponent's horse at the tournament. Then he walks up to the puppeteer Tancel and breaks her finger because in the show the dragon lost to a knight. Who is going to stop him? Guards are standing right there. The only one who steps in is a nobody with no status. Every act of cruelty like this confirms, I can do anything.
If they do, they'll answer to my father. Let go of him. Wait, yokel, do as I say.
You impudent little wretch. What's happened to your hair?
I cut it off, brother.
Second, a retinue that mirrors squires, servants, guards. Nobody says you are wrong. Everyone says, yes, my prince. The narcissistic structure never encounters reality. Aerion doesn't hear the word no until he's 20, when he runs into Dunk's fist. And third, the mythology of the bloodline. We are the blood of the dragon. This is not a family boasting at dinner. This is state ideology. It turns grandiosity from a personal defense into a collective identity. Remember, when Aerion breaks the puppeteer's finger, he doesn't say, you insulted me. He says, the dragon must not lose. Not I, but the dragon. Personal pain is completely fused with the family myth. He can no longer tell himself apart from his blood.
You impudent little wretch. What's happened to your hair?
I cut it off, brother.
And against this background, Egg. Same court, same father, same blood, but a different choice. He cuts his hair silver Targaryen, ancestral, and says, so I wouldn't look like my brother. One child who was never hugged decided to become someone who is feared. Egg, who was also never hugged, decided to become someone who isn't recognized.
And the youngest.
Sir Duncan, you have to come. Arion's hurting her.
Hurting who?
50 years later, this boy is an old king, Aegon V. The unlikely. They called him that because the fourth son of a fourth son was never supposed to sit on the throne. But everyone ahead him in line died, from plague, from swords, from their own decisions, and here's what's remarkable. The boy who wandered through taverns and stables with a hedge knight became the only king who genuinely tried to protect common people, and protest as well. He issued decrees limiting the lord's power over peasants. He gave them rights they never had. The lords refused to obey. Some sabotaged his decrees, others openly rebelled. Egg tried a different approach. He arranged marriages between his children and the great houses to gain political support. But all 5 of his children, following their father's example, married for love and destroyed every planned alliance. And then Egg decided the only way to make the lords listen is to bring back the dragons. He gathered his closest people at Summerhall, the Summer Castle. 7 eggs, pyromancers, wildfire. The flame went out of control. Egg burned. With him Dunk, the same Dunk, Lord Commander of the King's Guard by that point, but still the same knight with a rope for a belt. How do we know this? Martin left only fragments, an ink-stained chronicle from an archmaester, where the words pyromancers, wildfire, the flames went out of control are visible. Barristan Salmi tells Daenerys, carefully, not saying everything. In season 4 of Game of Thrones, Joffrey flips through the White Book and finds 4 full pages about Sir Duncan the Tall, perished in the mysterious fire at Summerhall alongside King Aegon and Prince Duncan. And Dunk. And in the 3rd episode of our show, The Night of the Seven Kingdom, the fortune teller tells Egg, "You will be king, and you will die in the hot fire, and everyone who knew you will rejoice at your death." The boy who chose a razor instead of a knife 50 years later chose wildfire. The one who ran from the family of dragons tried to become a dragon himself at the end of life. Not from madness, from the desperation of an idealist who understood that the world doesn't change with kind words. That the only power that can protect those who he loves is the same power he once ran from. A reformer who couldn't negotiate peacefully and reached for a weapon. This story has been told 100 times in the real world. Martin just added dragons. But that's 50 years later. For now, he's 10, and he has a choice to make. In the season finale, there is a scene that's easy to miss behind all the talk about the trial of 7 and Baelor's death. Egg cuts his hair at night with a knife, silver hair, Targaryen hair, ancestral hair. What for?
When I was little, Aerion used to come into my bedchamber at night, put his knife in between my legs. He had too many brothers, he'd say. Maybe one night he'd make me his sister, then he could marry me.
It's actually ironical. Remember, Aerion used to hold a knife to Egg at night. Now Egg takes a knife himself, but instead of using it the way his brother did, he basically uses it on his own hair. The cycle couldn't repeat. Instead, Egg breaks it. He could possibly kill his own brother or made a revenge in any way, but not. He chose differently. There is a moment in the life of a child from a toxic family when they understand you can become like them or you can leave. Egg holds a knife and both options exist. Staying in the same cycle of family violence or stepping out. He steps out. He already knows that 50 years later he'll choose fire after all. We already know that. He doesn't know it yet. But here, at 10 years old, he chooses the razor. And that's exactly why this scene is so important. It means a lot. I think this is important. There is an important sense. It's not about, well, the trial of 7 with its grandeur, not Baelor's death with its tragedy, but this quiet scene when a boy with a knife who chooses to shave his head and serve Dunk. But he didn't just shave his head. He did something else. Dunk is not a knight from the songs, by the way. Most likely he was never even knighted. The show insists on this. He is not especially smart, not especially skilled. Sometimes he looks like a man who doesn't quite understand where he ended up. But he has something that nobody in Egg's world has.
Every knight needs a squire. You look like you need one more than...
He is normal. When someone is beating a weaker person nearby, he steps between them. Not because he weighted the risks, not because he calculated the consequences. He simply punches a prince in the face for breaking a puppeteer's fingers. For Egg, who spent his whole life watching adults stay silent next to violence, this is a revolution.
Sir Duncan only has us. And if he loses, he won't even have that. I can get the weapon in his hand. Somehow. But then it's up to you.
And also, Dunk is an orphan himself. His friend Ref was killed by a city guard. Arlan took him in. Now Dunk is the one who takes in Egg. A chain of passing it forward if you want. Arlan stayed next to Dunk, didn't fall apart, didn't run, didn't say enough. Dunk does the same for Egg. When an adult doesn't fall apart from a child's terror, but simply stays and holds steady, the child learns for the first time that his feelings are not a catastrophe. This is exactly what Maekar couldn't do.
Squire, sir.
You'd have served a donkey were it squireless.
Sorry, sir.
Listen to this line. A prince who has a castle, a title, Targaryen blood, and a future as a king, doesn't dream of a crown. He dreams of being useful to someone.
Yes, my lord.
Sir.
Hard food and no beatings without reason. These are the conditions Egg agrees to with joy. For him, this is an upgrade. Think about it. A child from a palace considers don't hit without reason a good deal. I often see how adult children from broken families find someone like this, their first normal person. A friend, a teacher, a therapist, a random stranger. Someone who shows them for the first time. You can be an adult and not destroy. Dunk doesn't know what he is to Egg. He thinks he has a squire. In reality, Egg found the father he never had.
She's dead.
Is the innkeeper?
First meeting, first lie. Egg tells Dunk that his mother is dead, creating an emotional bond through the image of being an orphan. Manipulation, yes. But a 10-year-old child manipulates not out of cleverness, out of desperation. He has nowhere to go, and the only tool he has is words.
He's no prince. Not yet. Might be he's better served away from castles and servants and...
His family?
If you would consent, I would bring him on the road with me.
The finale. Maekar offers Dunk a position at Summer Hall to train Egg. Dunk refuses. I've had enough of princes. Then he comes back with a counter offer. He'll take the boy on the road. Maekar says no.
Sir Duncan! My lord father says I am to serve you.
Serve you, sir. Chestnut's yours.
And then Egg comes to Dunk and says, my father says I should serve you. Maekar never said that. In Martin's book, Maekar gives silent consent. The show changed this on purpose, I think. The showrunner confirmed it. The last scene, Maekar is frantically searching for Egg among the departing Targaryens. He doesn't find him. In dysfunctional families, children cannot say, I'm leaving, because no one will let them go. They leave through lies, through escape, through disappearing. Egg already lied to Dunk. He did that. He was a prince. Now he lies again. He lies to leave.
Maybe you're not the knight I thought you were.
I don't judge Egg for lying. I see a child who has no other way out. An honest conversation with Maekar is impossible, not because Maekar is evil, but because he cannot hear. The actor who plays Maekar, Sam Spruill, said in an interview, he's torn between wanting to hold on to his son and realizing he doesn't know how to give him what he needs. He knows he should, but he simply cannot. Two riders leave down the road, one an orphan pretending to be a knight, the other a prince pretending to be an orphan. The last shot of the season, the ghost of Sir Aerion on his horse Sweetfoot follows Dunk and Egg down the road. They then turns and rides away. A true knight always finishes telling his story. The show begins with a funeral. Dunk buries Aerion in the rain. It ends with that father letting go. Maekar cannot let go. Aerion can, because Aerion gave Dunk what Maekar never gave his sons. The feeling that you are valuable as you are.
Boy, everyone knows that.
Then everyone is wrong.
Do you want to clout near?
Crownlands, Westlands, Stormlands, Riverlands.
Notice, in this scene, it's already Egg who takes care of Dunk. He mentions the mayor. He is watching out for Dunk's reputation. The child becomes a partner.
The Iron Islands, the North, the Reach, the Vale of Aerion, and Dawn.
No, but
Dunk says, maybe any of the 7 kingdoms. Egg corrects him, there are 9. The title card changes for a second to a Knight of the 9 Kingdoms. This is not a geography lesson. Egg chooses to see the world as it actually is, not the way old sons described it. The boy who shaved his hair to stop being part of the myth now corrects the last myth, the name itself. The credits play 16 tons, a song about a coal miner trapped in debt. You cannot outrun where you come from. Egg is wearing the armor of his dead mentor. Egg has silver hair under his shaved head. They ride away, but they carry everything they run from.
Everybody blames me for his death, don't they?
You know what gets me? In the ruins of a castle called Summerhall, 50 years later, they'll find the ashes of 2 people, an old king and his knight, the boy who ran from a family of dragons and the man who helped him run. They spent half a century together and burned together. On the same day, in those ruins, Maekar Targaryen was born, the future father of Jon Snow. But that's later. For now, the road, the horses, and 2 people who were lucky to find each other.